the extended warranty plan from Hollard. SMS your name to 31465 now, and we'll call you back.
When it's my turn for a stokvel, I have a lot to buy, so I go to my spa to get the real deals. Like cool baked beans for $5.49 and Spa pure sunflower oil for $10.99. I have so much stuff to get because, my Prudence, she's very fussy.
A very good morning to you, and it's just gone, I guess, 17 minutes past 6, which means it's time for Morning Live Business. Now, growing business and creating jobs, that's one of the missions at the forefront of government, especially during these challenging economic times. One entity that's trying to do just that is the National Empowerment Fund, and is led by the and influential businesswoman. I'm now joined by the CEO of the National Empowerment Fund, Philisiwe Buthelezi. Philisiwe, thank you very much for joining us on the program. Very warm welcome to you.
Thank you very much.
Or should I say, enchanté de faire votre connaissance.
Merci beaucoup, monsieur.
And I do that because, of course, you spent quite a bit of time in France, but what we're here today is to talk about the NEF, the National Empowerment Fund. And I wonder, what does the NEF do? Just remind our viewers.
The NEF provides both financial and non-financial support to black entrepreneurs. So when I say financial support, it's about, allowing our black entrepreneurs to acquire black equity stakes in established businesses. So that's your typical BEE transactions. But we also provide financing for startup capital for entities that are looking at new enterprises. We also provide expansion capital, procurement finance for those entities that would be lucky to get, contracts and projects from your parastatals and from your private sector. So it's really a suite of products that talks to the whole, maturity cycle of a business.
Right. Now, you arrived in 2005, and it was a tricky time for the NEF at that stage. You've been credited for turning it around. What kind of success have you had since then in terms of, I suppose, supporting business and funding?
I think, firstly, I would say it was about stabilizing the entity. But also, I was very lucky in that I was given the opportunity, even though it was in a messy situation at that time, to actually start something from scratch, because it's really about looking at what some of the entities that were actually created post-1994 actually achieved. So from that perspective, I would say the NEF is one of those post-1994 entities that were created by our government. Yeah, I know that's, we've been modest, but we believe that we have, been lucky to actually deliver on our mandate.
Okay, so you gave us a hint earlier on as who you help, and I'm just wondering, what kind of amounts can people apply for, and typically who are you looking to help?
We're looking at your ordinary entrepreneurs. So those are the entrepreneurs who would actually find it difficult to raise funding or capital from your traditional commercial banks. So it's your ordinary entrepreneurs. We provide funding from 250,000 all the way up to about 75 million. But people should not look at the 75 million threshold as a limitation, because our funding actually unlocks additional funding from other funders like the IDC. So even though we'll actually come in as the NEF and provide the initial 75 million, we always co-finance our transactions with your traditional banks, commercial banks, and the other DFIs like the IDC. So it's the 75 million that unlocks additional value from other funders.
All right. What do you see as the ultimate goal of the NEF? And if you're doing your job successfully, what will be the fruits of your labor, do you think?
For us, as I always say, it's really about making sure that BEE or the type of BEE that we are doing at the National Empowerment Fund, that it does contribute to the economic growth of the country. And by that I mean we look at things like the projects that we are financing as the NEF. Are they really creating additional jobs for our economy? So if you were to move away from your typical equity, black equity transaction, we're now saying that we need to use the gains that we have made in those equity transactions to get involved in productive investments that would actually add value to our economy.
All right. Okay. Very briefly, if people need to get hold of you, because I'm sure a lot of people are going to be on your phones and so on and so forth, I guess your website is the best place to start, isn't it?
Is the website? Yes. Sorry about that, Peter. The one thing that I also forgot to mention is the business plan toolkit that people will actually find from our website. Okay. Because we have identified that as one of the major market failures that are faced by our entrepreneurs.
In fact, let's just put up a quick graphic there for the business plan kit that you're talking about. So that's the address there on the screen, nefbusinessplanner.co.za, and that will help them build the business plan.
To conceptualize their business plan, because it's a serious market failure that are faced by our entrepreneurs.
Right.
So if they can go into our website, it's a step-by-step, toolkit. It prompts you, because sometimes when you talk about cash flow projections to our entrepreneurs, they'll actually think it's a rocket science. But when you go into our website, you'll actually realize that it's very easy to put together a business plan.
Okay, Philisiwe Buthelezi, we're going to have to leave it there, unfortunately. I suppose all we can say is carry on the good work. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much, Peter, for having me.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay. With that, let's take a quick look at your indicators now. Starting with your currencies, the rand was range-bound in late trade on Wednesday as markets waited for a decision on the Reserve Bank's Monetary Policy Committee. So there you go, US dollar 8.15, the British pound 12.74, and the euro 10.01. Looking at your equities markets, the JSE had a good outing yesterday with the resources and the banks the biggest gainers. The all share was up by about 1% to close at